Are you sure your favorite groceries will be on the shelves tomorrow? With global markets in flux, unpredictable production issues, and soaring demand, some everyday essentials are becoming increasingly scarce. As the year moves forward, certain pantry staples may disappear faster than you think. In this video, we'll highlight 8 essential items that are at risk of running out and explain the factors behind these shortages. Avoid being unprepared. Stick with us to learn how you can stay prepared and avoid the stress of empty shelves. Number 8. Let's dive in before the shelves are empty of flour and baking supplies. Why flour and baking supplies? Could soon be hard to find flour, and baking supplies might feel like kitchen staples that are always available. But a combination of global issues is threatening their supply, and the impact is bigger than you might expect. If you love baking or rely on these ingredients for everyday cooking, it's time to take notice. Global wheat shortages. One major factor is the ongoing global wheat shortage. Extreme weather events are hitting wheat-producing regions hard. In the US and Canada, droughts have slashed wheat harvests, drastically cutting supplies. Europe is struggling too, with heavy rains and flooding in countries like France and Germany, damaging crops and delaying harvests. On top of that, the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, two of the world's largest wheat exporters, has severely disrupted exports. This has caused global wheat markets to become unstable, leading to higher prices and reduced availability of flour. Supply chain problems. Even when wheat is harvested and processed, getting it to store shelves is becoming a nightmare. Rising freight costs, port delays, and a shortage of shipping containers are creating massive bottlenecks. A lack of truck drivers is only making things worse, leaving grocery store shelves less stocked than they used to be. Labor and energy challenges. Labor shortages are hitting food production hard. Flour mills and food processing plants are struggling to operate at full capacity due to a lack of workers, which means less flour is being produced. At the same time, rising energy costs are driving up production and packaging expenses. Fertilizer prices and crop protection costs are also skyrocketing, making wheat production more expensive than ever. The ripple effect on baking supplies. When flour becomes scarce, other baking essentials like yeast, sugar, and baking powder are also impacted. These items are often packaged and shipped together, so disruptions in one area can quickly ripple through the supply chain. Panic buying is making it worse. As news of potential shortages spreads, panic buying is adding fuel to the fire. Shoppers rushing to stockpile flour and other baking supplies are creating even more strain on inventories, leaving shelves empty and shoppers frustrated. What you can do. If you use flour and baking supplies regularly, it's smart to plan ahead. Stock up responsibly while these items are still available to avoid last-minute shortages and rising prices. Preparing now can help you save money and stress down the road. By acting early, you can ensure your pantry is ready for whatever challenges lie ahead, without contributing to the problem. Number 7. Butter, a staple in many kitchens, is becoming increasingly hard to find and afford. If you've noticed prices inching upward, or shelves looking sparse, you're not alone. The issues surrounding butter's availability and cost are far more complicated than they might appear. From production challenges to soaring expenses and evolving consumer habits, butter is caught in a tough spot, one that's likely to persist into the new year. At the heart of the issue lies a global milk shortage. Since milk is the essential ingredient in butter, even a small decline in supply has significant consequences. Farmers around the world are facing skyrocketing feed costs, making it more expensive than ever to maintain dairy herds. To manage these rising expenses, many farmers have been forced to downsize their herds, reducing overall milk production. This decrease trickles down to butter production, leaving fewer options for consumers. Adding to the complexity is the seasonal nature of milk production. During the colder months, cows naturally produce less milk, just as demand for butter peaks. Holiday baking, festive meals, and comfort foods like cookies, pies, and rich dishes all heavily rely on butter. When demand surges and milk supply dwindles, a gap is created, leading to shortages and higher prices. Labor shortages are compounding the problem. From milking cows to processing milk into butter, every stage requires skilled workers. Unfortunately, dairy farms, processing plants, and distribution centers are all struggling to find enough labor to operate efficiently. These staffing shortages slow production and further disrupt the supply chain, leaving store shelves emptier than usual. As these challenges pile up, butter is becoming a symbol of the broader struggles facing the dairy industry. For now, consumers might have to adapt to higher prices or fewer options when it comes to this beloved dairy product. Butter shortages are becoming a growing concern due to multiple challenges disrupting the supply chain. Delays in deliveries and inefficiencies have made it harder to keep butter stocked in stores, wasting valuable labor and exposing vulnerabilities in the system. From shipping struggles to logistical snags, these problems persist across every link of the supply chain. Adding to the complexity, the rising demand for plant-based alternatives is reshaping the dairy industry. As more people choose dairy-free butter substitutes, resources are being diverted, slowing traditional butter production. Manufacturers are now juggling both markets, often at the expense of real butter production. This shift means fewer resources for classic butter, leaving shelves understocked for those who prefer the traditional option. Transportation and trade issues are compounding the problem. Many regions depend on imported dairy products, but global trade tensions have caused shipping bottlenecks. From container shortages to soaring freight costs, moving butter across borders has become more complicated and expensive. Countries reliant on imports now face longer delays and higher costs, forcing consumers to contend with limited options and rising prices at the checkout. So, what does this mean for you? Butter isn't just a kitchen essential. It's the cornerstone of countless recipes, especially during the colder months. If you want to avoid empty shelves or sticker shock, now is the time to act. Stock up on butter and other dairy staples while they're still available, and consider freezing some for later. Butter freezes well, ensuring you'll have a supply on hand for your favorite recipes, even during a shortage. A little planning now can save you from stress and scrambling later when supplies run low. Number 6. Rice and grain alternatives. Facing supply challenges. Rice and its alternatives, like quinoa, millet, barley, and buckwheat, are becoming harder to find, and the reasons might catch you off guard. A combination of erratic weather patterns, rising fertilizer costs, and shifting consumer diets is creating significant challenges in the availability and affordability of these staples. If rice and grain alternatives are essential to your pantry, now is the time to act before they disappear from store shelves. Rice, a dietary cornerstone for over half the world's population, is particularly vulnerable to unstable weather. Countries like India, China, and Thailand dominate global rice production, but extreme weather events have taken a heavy toll. Floods in some regions and droughts in others have led to smaller harvests and poorer quality crops. For instance, Southeast Asia, a key rice-producing area, has been grappling with harvest delays and diminished yields due to unpredictable weather. Adding to the crisis are export restrictions imposed by major producers attempting to stabilize their local markets, leaving global buyers struggling to secure supplies. As rice availability declines, many are turning to alternatives like quinoa, millet, barley, and buckwheat. However, these grains face challenges of their own. Take quinoa, for example. Primarily grown in Peru and Bolivia, quinoa farming has struggled with environmental pressures. Over-farming to meet rising global demand has degraded soil quality, reducing crop yields, and making it difficult for farmers to maintain both supply and sustainability. Barley and millet, known for their nutritional benefits and gluten-free properties, are also under strain. Barley serves a dual purpose as both a food staple and a crucial ingredient in beer production. When barley harvests fall short, competition between the food and beverage industries drives up prices and limits availability. Similarly, millet, primarily cultivated in Africa and India, is heavily dependent on small-scale farms. These farms are highly vulnerable to climate fluctuations and market instability, leading to inconsistent supplies. Buckwheat, another popular grain alternative, presents its own unique challenges. Its cultivation is often limited by factors such as climate dependency, reduced planting areas, and market demand. further straining availability. If these grains are a staple in your diet, it's vital to plan ahead. With growing pressures on global food supplies, stocking up on these essentials now could save you from future shortages and price hikes. Primarily cultivated in Russia, China, and parts of Eastern Europe, buckwheat has become a staple for those following gluten-free diets due to its high nutritional value and versatility. However, its reliance on these regions makes it vulnerable to geopolitical disruptions, such as export bans and economic sanctions. When the supply chain falters, shortages and price hikes quickly follow. The challenges don't end there. Transporting, importing, and storing grains come with their own set of complications. Grains are often shipped in bulk across continents, but rising freight costs, container shortages, and port delays have severely disrupted their movement. Storage conditions also play a critical role, as grains are highly susceptible to pests, mold, and spoilage. Any mismanagement in storage can result in significant losses, further straining supply chains. Consumer demand adds yet another layer to this growing issue. With the popularity of nutrient-rich diets and trends like gluten-free, paleo, and low-carb lifestyles on the rise, alternatives such as quinoa and buckwheat are disappearing from shelves faster than suppliers can restock. Bulk purchases and panic buying have created regional shortages, making it increasingly difficult to find these staples. If grains or their alternatives are an essential part of your diet, don't wait until the shortages worsen. Stock up now to avoid skyrocketing prices or empty shelves in the coming months. Grains are versatile, long-lasting, and easy to store, making them a smart investment. Filling your pantry today could save you money, time, and stress in the future. Number 5. Peanuts, butter, and nuts. Butters, peanut butters, and nut butters, staples in pantries everywhere, are facing a whirlwind of challenges that could make them harder to find and more expensive after January, from unpredictable weather to soaring production costs. The factors driving these potential shortages are more complex than you might think. Let's break down why now is the time to stock up on your favorite creamy or crunchy spreads. First, it all starts with the nuts. Peanuts, the backbone of peanut butter, are primarily grown in the southeastern United States, with Georgia, Alabama, and Texas leading the charge, but these regions have been hit hard by extreme weather, including severe droughts and erratic rainfall patterns. When the harvest suffers, not only is the quantity of peanuts reduced, but the quality also declines. High-grade peanuts, the kind used in your favorite spreads, become scarcer, directly impacting production. The same phenomenon occurs with other types of nuts. Butter's almond butter depends on California's almond crops, but the ongoing water crisis in the state has significantly reduced yields. Almond trees require a lot of water, and as water restrictions tighten, farmers are being forced to reduce their production. Farmers have had to reduce their production. Cashew butter, which relies on cashews sourced from Africa and Asia, faces its own set of hurdles, including shipping delays and logistical bottlenecks that make it harder to get raw nuts to processing plants. Once the nuts are harvested, the next challenge lies in processing. Transforming raw nuts into the smooth or chunky spreads we love requires specialized roasting and grinding equipment. However, many nut processing facilities have reported equipment shortages and breakdowns, with repairs delayed due to supply chain issues and a lack of skilled technicians. Labor shortages, ranging from farm workers to processing plant staff, have further exacerbated the slowdown, resulting in many facilities operating at reduced capacity. The demand for peanut butter and nut butters has skyrocketed over the last few years, fueled by their reputation as nutrient-packed, shelf-stable essentials. Popular diets like paleo, keto, and plant-based lifestyles have also driven the craze for almond, cashew, and other premium nut butters has created a surge in demand that has outpaced production capabilities, creating even more strain on an already stressed supply chain. Packaging is yet another obstacle. Peanut butter and nut butters require durable jars often made of plastic or glass to maintain freshness and prevent oil separation. Unfortunately, there's a global shortage of these materials. The resin used for plastic jars and the glass needed for premium packaging are both in short supply, leading to higher costs and delays. When you combine this with rising freight costs and port delays, it can lead to disruptions in supply chains and price increases. Finally, consumer behavior has amplified the issue as whispers of potential shortages circulate. Shoppers are stocking up on peanut butter and nut butters, emptying shelves faster than retailers can restock them. This bulk buying creates artificial demand spikes, making it even harder for producers to stabilize inventory levels. If peanut butter or almond butter is a must-have in your pantry, don't wait until the shelves are empty or prices soar. Stock up now to avoid the frustration of searching high and low for your favorite spreads. Whether it's for a classic PB&J, smoothies, or just a quick spoonful straight from the jar, you'll thank yourself for being prepared when these tasty essentials start disappearing after January. Number 4. Maple syrup. Picture this, that warm golden syrup drizzling over your Sunday pancakes. Well, better savor every drop, because maple syrup is facing some serious challenges. 2023 shocked the maple industry when Quebec, producing 70% of the world's maple syrup, saw its worst harvest in 3 years. Those precious maple trees? They're super picky about weather. They need freezing nights and warm days to get that sap flowing. But recent winters have been like a broken thermostat. Too warm, too cold, never just right. Think that's bad? Here's the kicker. The Federation of Quebec Maple Syrup Producers just announced they've dipped into their emergency reserves again. Remember the Great Syrup Reserve? That massive stockpile they keep in those giant barrels? Yeah, they're tapping into it more than ever. And get this, demand is going through the roof. Maple syrup isn't just for pancakes anymore. It's trending as a natural sweetener in everything from protein bars to craft beverages. Global demand jumped 20% just last year. Climate scientists from the University of Vermont warn that by 2050, the maple season could start a whole month earlier. Earlier seasons mean less sap, and less sap means, well, you get the picture. So next time you're at the store, don't be shocked if that bottle of pure maple syrup costs more than your entire breakfast. Stock up now, or maybe start developing a taste for honey instead. Number 3. Canned tomatoes and tomato products are kitchen essentials that we often take for granted. However, these pantry staples, such as canned tomatoes, tomato paste, and sauces, may soon vanish from store shelves. Rising challenges in production, increasing demand, and soaring costs are putting these everyday items at serious risk. If you frequently rely on these products, now is the time to act before they become too scarce or expensive. The root of the issue starts with the tomatoes themselves. Tomatoes used for canning are grown seasonally and harvested at peak ripeness to ensure optimal flavor and nutrition. Unfortunately, erratic weather patterns have disrupted this delicate process. Prolonged droughts and intense heat waves have severely impacted tomato yields in key growing regions such as California, Italy, and Spain. These areas, historically known for their ideal tomato-growing climates, are now facing significant crop losses, directly reducing the number of tomatoes available for canning. Global demand for canned tomatoes is also surging. Many households depend on these products for their convenience, extended shelf life, and versatility in recipes, especially during times when fresh tomatoes are either unavailable or too expensive. This growing reliance has placed additional strain on manufacturers who are already grappling with limited supplies. The situation is further exacerbated by supply chain bottlenecks. Global shipping delays, container shortages, and rising transportation costs have made it increasingly difficult to move canned tomato products from processing plants to store shelves. Even after the tomatoes are processed and canned, labor shortages and higher fuel prices have complicated their distribution, resulting in longer wait times and reduced availability for consumers. Packaging is another significant hurdle. Canned tomatoes rely on aluminum for their packaging, and the cost of aluminum has surged in recent years. Additionally, the prices of labels, adhesives, and other packaging materials have also increased, further driving up production costs. Manufacturers often pass these expenses on to consumers, leading to noticeable price hikes. Labor shortages throughout the food processing industry are yet another obstacle. From harvesting tomatoes to operating canning facilities, the production chain depends on a considerable amount of manual labor. Many facilities are struggling to find enough workers to maintain regular production schedules, resulting in delays and reduced output. Furthermore, the canning process itself requires significant amounts of water and energy. Rising costs and tighter regulations for these resources have made the situation even more challenging for manufacturers. For those who rely on canned tomatoes and tomato products for cooking, the possibility of shortages or sharp price increases can be concerning. These products are incredibly versatile, enabling quick and easy preparation of dishes like soups, stews, and pasta sauces. To avoid being caught off guard, consider stocking up now. Canned tomatoes and their related products have a long shelf life, making them an excellent addition to any pantry. By taking action today, you can ensure that your favorite recipes remain accessible, even as these indispensable kitchen staples face unprecedented challenges. Number 2. Frozen vegetables. While frozen vegetables, such as your go-to bag of broccoli florets, mixed veggie medleys, or trusty corn for quick side dishes, may seem like a reliable, long-lasting grocery item, they are facing significant challenges that could make them harder to find in stores after January. Frozen vegetables are in high demand, and the systems supporting their production are struggling to keep. One of the biggest obstacles is the heavy reliance on cold storage facilities. Unlike shelf-stable goods, frozen vegetables require specialized refrigeration at every step of their journey, from processing to distribution to retail shelves. Unfortunately, the maximum capacity of these cold storage units creates a bottleneck that delays shipments and restricts the amount of inventory producers can manage. With more goods than storage capacity, the supply chain slows down significantly, leaving grocery stores with fewer frozen options. The technology behind flash freezing exacerbates the problem. Frozen vegetables need to be processed immediately after harvest to lock in their flavor and nutrients. However, the advanced freezing equipment required to do this is prone to breakdowns, and recent supply chain issues have made it difficult to source the necessary parts for repairs. Compounding the problem, there's a shortage of skilled technicians available to fix these systems quickly, which means production plants are often left idle longer than usual. This slowdown directly impacts the volume of frozen vegetables making it to market. Another surprising factor is shifting consumer demand. While frozen mixed vegetable packs used to dominate the market, there's now a surge in popularity for single bags like spinach, peas, and green beans. The processing plants aren't always equipped to pivot quickly to meet these changing preferences, leading to an imbalance in what's available. As a result, some vegetables are overstocked. While others become nearly impossible to find, climate disruptions are also wreaking havoc on the availability of frozen vegetables. Countries like Spain, Italy, and China, which are major exporters of crops like peppers, spinach, and green beans, have faced unpredictable weather patterns from droughts to excessive rainfall. These extreme conditions often lead to delayed harvests or crops that don't meet the strict quality standards required for freezing. We deem the vegetables unsuitable for frozen food if they don't freeze well or maintain their texture and flavor after thawing. Trade policies and tariffs further complicate the issue. Recent increases in tariffs on imported frozen vegetables have made it more expensive for retailers to stock them, particularly from international markets. This has placed more pressure on domestic production to fill the gap, but it's not always enough to meet consumer demand, the result being higher prices and fewer options. At your local grocery store, if you rely on frozen vegetables to simplify your cooking, they're becoming a hot commodity due to rising production costs, storage limitations, and shifting consumer trends. Now's the time to stock up. Number 1. Orange juice. Let's talk about something that might hit close to home: your morning glass of orange juice. You know, that sunny drink that's been brightening breakfast tables forever? Well, folks, we've got some news that might make you spill your coffee. Florida, our citrus wonderland, is going through what farmers are calling the Great Orange Crisis. No, I'm not being dramatic. We're looking at the smallest harvest since your grandparents were dancing to swing music in the 1940s. And trust me, this isn't your typical bad season story. The villain in this citrus soap opera? A tiny troublemaker called the Asian citrus psyllid. Now, despite its fancy name, this little pest is causing massive headaches. It spreads something called citrus greening disease, or HLB if you want to sound like a scientist at dinner parties. Picture this. These bugs are basically giving orange trees the flu, but instead of getting better after a week of chicken soup, the trees slowly lose their mojo. The fruit turns bitter, the trees stop growing properly, and eventually, well, let's just say it's not a happy ending. Here's where it gets wild. Back in 2018, Florida's orange groves were pumping out around 45 million boxes of oranges. Pretty impressive, right? Fast forward to today, and we're looking at a measly 20.5 million boxes. That's like losing an entire ocean of orange juice. And yes, this explains why your grocery bill has been giving you heart palpitations. OJ prices have jumped 24% in recent months. That's not a typo, folks. But wait, there's more. Scientists aren't just sitting around sipping what's left of our orange juice. They're working on some pretty cool solutions. We're talking about everything from high-tech tree screens that look like something out of a sci-fi movie to developing super oranges that tell disease to take a hike. The catch? These new trees are like teenagers. They take their sweet time to grow up. We're talking 5 to 7 years before they start producing fruit. Talk about delayed gratification. Now you might be thinking, can't we just get our oranges from somewhere else? Well, here's the plot twist. Brazil, the world's biggest orange juice producer, is fighting the same battle. Some farmers are throwing in the towel faster than a boxer in the 12th round, switching to crops like soybeans instead. It's like watching your favorite TV show get canceled and replaced with infomercials. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. Some creative farmers are experimenting with new growing techniques, including indoor citrus farming. Yeah, you heard that right. Orange trees with air conditioning. They're also trying out natural predators to fight our tiny bug friends, kind of like hiring security guards for their orchards. For us orange juice lovers, this means we might need to rethink our breakfast game. Maybe start a rotation with other fruit juices, or get fancy with smoothies. And here's a pro tip from someone who's been watching these prices like a hawk. If you spot your favorite OJ brand at a reasonable price, consider stocking up. Just don't go all doomsday prepper on us. Orange juice doesn't last forever. Here's a question that'll get your brain juices flowing. What do you think about scientists working on lab-grown oranges? Yeah, that's actually a thing now. Imagine telling your grandparents about drinking orange juice from oranges that never saw sunshine. Mind-blowing, right? So, next time you're pouring that golden goodness into your glass, take a moment to appreciate it. Who knew your morning OJ had such a dramatic backstory? Drop a comment below and tell me, what's your backup breakfast drink when orange juice plays hard to get? And hey, if you've noticed any crazy price jumps at your local store, share your story. We're all in this citrus crisis together.